Hi, welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is Anne with an E, not the book and not the show. So karibuni. Today we are discussing about an interesting topic. It's my personal favorite, child maintenance. And I'll just start with a little bit of my story. So I have a son, 10 years of age, and I am a single mother. And it's an honor to be a single mother, by the way. But the reason why I brought up this story is because of, again, what we are going to discuss today. That's about child maintenance. I remember back in the days when I wanted to get back to baby daddy. And I had gone to court, and I had gone to court. Oh, good thing I had a very good counsel. Maybe one day he'll come and appear in this show, maybe. I'll just ask him. But we're very good friends, and he guided me on the steps to which I should follow. At that time, I was in campus, so yeah. Anyway, long story short, that is basically what we are going to be discussing about today, child maintenance. As we all know, a child does not come about just like hatched or dropped from heaven. There's a process. So what happens when the child is here and one of the parents decides, you know what, me, I'm done with this thing. I did not sign up for it. I am done. So that is where our whole show is all comes about, right? And I will start with an interesting observation. During school opening days, the courts are usually flooded with so many parents saying, oh, I want the court to order this other person to pay for the school fees. And you find that the courts are flooded with parents who want to sort this out. And I would say it's quite embarrassing, first of all, because what if this person is not in a position to financially aid your circumstance? That is why you, as a parent, you have the obligation to be wise enough to know when is the best time to approach the court. And I will just give a highlight of what, as a parent who has actual custody of a parent of a child, what are the guidelines that you should follow, because essentially you're supposed to be an objective parent when it comes to dealing with matters to do with child maintenance. And one of the things that you're supposed to do is compose yourself. 90% of the time you will find that the other parent is out to revenge because they were hurt probably in the process. But the courts normally don't look at your issues, at you because we concerned with this person, ni lazima assort his story. No, they look at what is the best interest of the child. So first of all, compose yourself and say, the only thing I am after is the provision of this child, nothing more, nothing less. Then the other thing is, once you have composed yourself, then be objective about the situation. You list out the matters that you want sorted. Wind, embarrassing. Anyway, you list out the matters that you want sorted out. And most of the time, it's usually education, medical. As we know, the rights of the child are enshrined in the Constitution are clothing, we have shelter, we have food, and we have education. Those are the required rights that a child actually has. And so be objective. When you want to approach the court, say, this is exactly what I want from this person. And then you also assess and analyze your situation. What situation are you in? You could be going after someone who financially is incapable of taking care of that child. Whatever reason that you had, mingling with that person is your own issue. However, what of the financial position, because the court will also consider the financial position of this person. And normally in those cases, you're required to do an affidavit of means to show your position as a parent, what you can do and what you cannot do. And therefore, you also have to analyze that situation and see, okay, this person probably works in Jengo somewhere, and probably their daily living, their daily earnings are about, say, 400 Kenya shillings per day. So in a month, the total amount does not even add up to 30,000 shillings a month. Then you're there asking for 50,000. It does not make sense. You have to analyze your situation and see how best can I tell the court to ensure that this person who is absconding duty is compelled to do something about it. And then the other one is, do not be unreasonable under all circumstances. So as I've just illustrated to you, you cannot ask for 50,000 from someone who is earning 30,000. You have to stay within your means. Understand that, okay, fine, I can provide A, B, C, D. What can this other person provide? And then now present that to court. Even it reduces the stress that the courts usually have during such instances. And then finally, something that I will always emphasize is the issue of consulting your advocate to get advice. You have to consult the advocate, your advocate at all times. That way, they will be best able to explain to you what is required of you as a parent. Remember that every parent has a 50-50 responsibility owed to the child. So make sure that you have those steps when it comes to child maintenance. So let's discuss a commonly used term when someone absconds duty, and that is the term deadbeat. The duty to raise your child, the child that you have sired, or you as a female you have brought forth, you have conceived and birthed, yeah? The Children's Act, one of the statutes that govern child maintenance, provides that each parent has an acquired parental responsibility. Therefore, by virtue of you giving birth or siring, you have acquired parental responsibility. There's another way of acquiring parental responsibility, and that is basically, for instance, being a single mom, maybe someone wants to marry me and they have said, I will take care of this child as my own. Then that person enters into a parental responsibility agreement, and they are held to that by the law. So I would say, first of all, deadbeats, please raise your children, especially those who have capacity. And if you know that you as the other parent who's actually taking parental responsibility seriously, you know that you can actually do it, then do it without having to bring complications. You know, sometimes life is way easier without having to deal with court battles. I will guarantee you that as an advocate, it is way much easier to avoid the court and legal process. I'm not saying don't come to me, please do. But yeah, so that is basically a deadbeat. Now, having established who a deadbeat is, there are various questions that I have come across that are asked out there and even in my office. And therefore, that is what we will look at in the next few minutes. On to the first question. That is not an uncommon thing. It's very common, in fact. However, the Constitution under Article 53 categorically provides whether parents are married or not married, they have equal parental responsibility. Therefore, marriage is not a determinant as to whether you will have to take care of your child or not. As long as you have a child, you have to take care of that child. in such instances, we have the issue of custody coming into play, where, for instance, the parents of the child are maybe underage. By underage, I mean they've not reached the age of majority. In such an instance, then the child can be put up for adoption, and that is a whole other topic that we can discuss maybe sometime later. But what happens when both parents are not in the capacity to raise up a child? Or that is now capacity. Now, in terms of deadbeat, then the issue of custody again is looked into. Who can have the legal custody? And most of the times you find that the child is taken up by homes, different homes, or relatives of these two irresponsible people. They take up the child, right? So please do not be responsible when you're siring a child, when you're birthing a child. Make sure you're ready for it. And then there's also the question of the illustration I gave earlier, when, for instance, XYZ wants to marry me and they want to take up responsibility of my child, over my child, then does that mean that the biological father of the child then ceases to have parental responsibility? As we highlighted earlier, parental responsibility can be acquired funny story. As you can see, our background has just changed. It's still fine. I think we'll make do with what we have. There was like a small commotion, so that's why we had to come here. And so I was, I think, explaining something to do with when another person acquires parental responsibility. Does it then mean that the person who originally had parental responsibility cease from having the same? And fact is, as we know for now, is that if someone else has acquired parental responsibility, then that person can actually, their parental responsibility can cease if they entered into an agreement. They can show that, okay, we are no longer together with the biological parent of this child, and therefore, because of that, I cannot continue to raise this child as my own. However, the law looks at that with a very keen eye as to when it comes to maintenance. You had initially agreed, so why then are you changing? So those small details, they need to be looked at into thoroughly. And there's a particular known case, I can't remember the facts, but it deals with that, okay? And therefore, you, as I always tell you, you need your advocate with you to advise you on how best to approach this issue of parental responsibility. First of all, you have to understand that FIDA is an initial of Federation of Women Lawyers, and basically the role of FIDA is to propagate the rights of women, not necessarily children. And therefore, there are other institutions that deal with the issue of protecting the child's interest. Again, FIDA largely deals with protection of the interests of the rights and interests of women and not necessarily children. Does that then mean that they will turn, they will look aside when it comes to matters to do with children? I don't think so. I don't work there personally, so I don't think so. However, they can guide you on what measures you can take when it comes to protecting your children. And for instance, you don't have money and you need your matter brought to court and you want guidance and direction, then there's KITUO cha SHERIA that deal with all kinds of matters and mostly pro bono matters. That way they assign to you an advocate who will proceed to take up your matter and direct you in the best way possible. However, when it comes to the matters pertaining to children, there is the National Children Council Services, if I'm not wrong, NCCS. It's under the Ministry of Labor and something, yeah. They are the best placed to address matters to do with child protection, child maintenance, child interest, basically all rights accorded to a child. So they are the best placed, they are best placed to direct you. So if you need to have your child maintenance matters addressed and you want an advocate, you can go through these institutions, but the best, as I have told you, is the NCCS. I think it will be edited so that you know what NCCS is. So there's that, and then they work closely with sub-county chief officers. So every county has a station where you can take your your child to ensure that their interests are protected. And as I think it's crucial to highlight that the rights of a child, the 4 basic rights of a child are education, food, clothing, and shelter. So if you know a child who does not have these rights accorded to them, then you can go to your local chief, local area chief, or if you really are pressed for time, you can also go to NCCS. Their buildings are somewhere in Nairobi, NSSF building, if I'm not wrong. So, in conclusion, even as you assess your situation, I'm going to read. Even as you assess your situation, many parents have been issued with an order to have a standing order channeled to the school of their children as part of their maintenance. So remember that when you go to court, there are orders such as standing orders which are placed in someone else's account, not just anyone, but the other parent who has absconded duty. And that way, you reduce your interaction with this person, because essentially the fact that you're there, it means that you are not in good terms, or if you are in good terms, you are not getting along with matters to do with raising of this child. So the court will issue a standing order when they know the income of this other parent and put a standing order. That way you minimize your interaction with this other person, and that way you're better placed to propagate the interests of the child, the best interest of the child. So that is it for us, guys, for today. Otherwise, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. See you next time. That was it for us. For us.